You're in a good place now. You are listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Live Your True Life Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. On today's podcast, I want to talk about being oppressed. But more specifically, are you feeling as though you are being oppressed by a family member? And does it seem that this person wants to make your life a living hell? Are they wanting to control you no matter what? And what are you doing to get out from underneath their thumb? Recently, in multiple sessions in my office, working with my clients, I'm hearing over and over again that many of my clients are feeling oppressed by a family member. And this is very interesting because it's one thing to feel oppressed by someone that's not related to you, to feel oppressed by your boss, by someone you got to deal with on a daily basis. But when it comes to feeling oppressed by a family member, it changes the entire dynamic. Because family is supposed to be supportive. Family is supposed to be there for you. Family is supposed to be the rock. Family's supposed to be all that stuff, right? Like, you know, when you hear about on the movies and TV where everybody's like, well, thank God my family was there. You know, without my family, it just wouldn't have worked. Or my family is my rock, you know. My family helps me with everything. And, you know, that's why they're family. And a lot of us, some of us have that situation, but many of us don't. Many of us have something totally different. And some of us actually have toxic family members that are making our life a living hell on a daily basis. And it's like we can't seem to get away from them, right? No matter what you do, they're there. No matter what's going on, they're around to make a comment, to send a derogatory text, to call you and berate you, to show up at your house unannounced. All those things in between to tell you about how you're not good enough and you're not living up to your expectations. Perhaps you're not making enough money. Perhaps they're having to float you financially. Perhaps they want you to take care of the aging mom or dad because that's what you're supposed to do. Perhaps you used to have an amazing career and lost it. And so now that toxic family member is sending you messages about how you should just go on and get a job stocking the shelves on the night shift at the local grocery store. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but when you used to run a corporation, well, you know, there is ego, but also it is kind of rude. So when you think about this, oftentimes when we are enmeshed with a relative who is toxic, some of you might say evil, it's hard to understand what to do next. It's hard to understand how to defend yourself, really. And it's like you've been dealing with this for so long, going through this toxicity for so long, you wonder, will it ever change? Will it ever go away? Are you going to constantly be stuck with this? And how do you let this go? Because unfortunately, you're kind of hooked to this person because they're a family member. So let's begin with who is it? Ask yourself the question, who is being toxic to me? Who do I feel is oppressing me? Is that mom? Is it dad? Is it your brother, your sister, your aunt? Who is it? And I think for most part, it could be a brother or sister, or a mother or father. And it can be very challenging because, like, the last thing you want to do is have to defend yourself around family. And it can seem counterproductive. So once we've identified who it is, we realize that when we identify it as our only sister, or our dad, or our mom, that it's definitely going to affect us more than an outsider. It's definitely going to affect us more, and it's going to upset us more Because this is somebody that we should be able to feel comfortable around. This is somebody that we should be able to feel safe around, not the other way around where we feel unsafe, we feel scared, we feel beaten up, we feel broken down, we feel beaten down, all those things in between. And so when this is happening, it's going to affect you more, it's going to upset you more, and it's supposed to be family. So recently in some sessions in my office, and for some of you might not realize it, I'm a therapist, but I'm also a life coach. I wear both hats because some people have bad experiences with therapists in the past where they felt like they weren't heard, they weren't helped, whatever in the middle. And I think it takes several different perspectives and understanding to get to the right solution. And so a textbook solution might not be the right solution. It might be something completely out of left field that allows a client to see clarity and to make a decision based on that clarity. And so I think it's interesting, once we define who is toxic and oppressing us in our family, we then want to ask ourselves, okay, how are they specifically controlling me? And when I've had clients come in, we talk about who's oppressing them, whether it's mom or dad or sister or brother. And, the next question that I ask is how are they talking to you? When was the last conversation you had with them? And just recently I had a client come into my office, and her sister is exceedingly oppressive of her. And they're the only two in the family. So there was only 2 kids. Sister is older, about 5 years older, and kind of acts like she's my client's mother. Okay? In all terms. The mother's older, and the sister has tried to take that position. In the process, the sister tries to control every single person in this family as much as possible. There's control issues. It's quite incestuous when you think about it, because when somebody wants to take control of you, how do they do it? Okay, so the first thing is they have to control what? Where do you live? That's a big one. Where you live is a huge one. If I own the home that you live in, I control you for the most part. Now, if I got you the loan for the car that you drive, I control where you go to and fro. I'm even allowed to know where you're driving to and why. If I own the home that you are living in, I have the right to come over whenever I want, unannounced, and I'm sure I have a set of keys. So you never have any true privacy. Now, a normal family member who actually cared would not do any of those types of things, okay? If they help get the loan because they wanted to help get the loan for the car, great. As long as the car isn't totaled, everything's great. And as long as you're taking care of the car and maintaining it, that's awesome. It shows respect for what I did. It shows respect for the car. Everybody's good. I don't need to know where you're driving or why you're driving there. That is none of my business. That is your life and not mine. On the flip side, a healthy individual that helps you get a home that you live in would not be coming over unannounced, would not be unlocking the door and showing up at random times to catch you doing something, and would definitely not hold that over your head for the rest of your life because you don't have a job or a career that you could afford a mortgage. Okay? And I understand that there's financial considerations here, okay? But if you do it and it's family and because you care and you love that person, you got to remember that this is all supposed to be out of love and care and generosity. And if you feel like you're being used, then you need to pull out. But the idea of being overbearing, critical, and oppressive is not friendly. It's not loving, and it's definitely not a family trait. So I've had a lot of clients come into my office who are being oppressed by a family member who basically controls them, normally financially, but most of the time it turns into an emotional control. It turns into no boundaries. And most of the time, they are able to pull the strings because of the financial obligation. And I find it interesting. I had a client that came into my office a couple of months ago, and his father is extremely oppressive. Okay? And his father has a large amount of money. Very, very large amount of money. To me, you would never have to work again. My kids would never have to work again. My kids would never have to. You get my point. Okay? We're talking in the billions here. And my client had an amazing career for a long time, a career that at that age is mind-boggling. And I respect it. And one day everything changed. And he lost his career, and the business was liquidated, and he was out of a job. And he had that job for about a good solid 10 years. And he worked and worked and worked to try to get a job like that again, and it just wasn't matriculating for him. So he had to go into another industry, had to get some extra education, and had to learn something from scratch. And I think a lot of us have been there. We understand how it is. We understand the painstaking obligation that it takes to do that, and we also understand how much work it takes, right? That's normal. But his father, throughout the whole step of the way, is very upset and angry with him that he's still not doing the same job, that he hasn't found a career that's lucrative. And it's gotten to the point where several days of the week he'll get a text from his dad telling him that he could be a cook at the McDonald's for $10 an hour and sending the link to apply. He's gotten, I'm not putting down McDonald's at all, okay? I'm not at all. Not at all. But what I'm saying is, think about it. If you've gone through so much school and you worked a career for 10 years that was beyond, just unbelievable, and then you're trying to find a job, and then you go back to school to even get more schooling, and your father's sending you links to apply to McDonald's. Or even, McDonald's is just an example. The latest one was for him to serve coffee at Starbucks, which I'm not against any of this, but I'm saying the reasoning behind it is explicitly to hurt the person that's struggling to find the position. It doesn't matter what job they would send. The point behind it that he's sending that is to rouse him, to upset him, to anger him, to make him feel bad about himself, okay? To make him feel bad, because for most of us, when we don't have a job, we know it. Everybody knows it. When you're not making money, don't you know it? You know it. When you're not making money, you're kind of beating yourself up. You're depressed. You're a little down. You're downtrodden. You feel bad. The bills are they're skyrocketing up, and you're trying to keep a smile on your face, and I'm going to get work. I'm going to get this, or you're working so hard. You have 2 jobs and you just can't get ends to meet, okay? And you know it. You don't need somebody telling you that you need to make more money. You don't need someone telling you, wow, you could really do better. You really need to step up. You already know that, so you're already thinking it. So then when somebody sends you something like that, what does it do? It's awful. It goes all over you. It washes all over you because you're already thinking it. It's like the same when you're thinking about how, you're down on yourself. You got a low self-esteem. Life's been pretty tough lately. And you're feeling about how you're not good enough. And the next thing you know, you get a call from this oppressive family member, a voicemail, a text message, that's basically reaffirming your low self-esteem. Okay? That's not right. And I know that sometimes, I'm not saying that every time my clients or people or us and everybody in general listening is always right. But when you actually step back and see pain that people are going through, you begin to understand what's happening to a degree. Because in most of these situations, these clients are suffering from depression. They're suffering from a low self-esteem. and they don't feel good. They don't feel like themselves. They don't feel like they can do anything. They're scared because they don't know what to do. It's not like they're sitting there at the house going, well, I'm not going to work today, you son of a bitch. I'm going to sit here all day and get your text messages. No. That's just not the way it works. I mean, many of us would just sit there and say, man, let me just do something. Let me get out of here. Let me do what I need to do and let me move on in my life, okay? And some people say that, but it's a lot easier said than done when you have a lot of mental stuff going on and you got a lot of stress and internalization of this stuff as well. So you ask yourself, okay, you say, you answer the question to the fact of who it is that's oppressing you and your family. Then we ask ourselves, how are they controlling me? How is this oppressive family member controlling me? Okay, are they controlling me by emotional ties? Are they holding me back from something? Are they holding something away from me that I can't have? You know, for example, if somebody is in charge of an estate or a will, and sometimes they can hold that against a particular family member. Is that the situation? Are they holding a carrot over your head? Are you living on a property of theirs and they're holding that over your head and they're telling you that you're not good enough to make the proper payments, that you need to move? What are they doing to you? Are they making you work also for free for them to offset what's going on? And the whole thing, it becomes a cycle. So when we get into the cycle, what happens is it's hard to get out. And there's a reason why we stay. Okay, there's always a reason why we stay. It's kind of like the individual. It's kind of like the female that gets married to the rich guy, right? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but gets married to the rich guy that takes care of her, and then he turns out to be abusive, right? So you have like the two sides of it. You have the financial thing on the side that is helpful, and it helps you live the lifestyle you want, but then you have the abusive side. So you have to break the chains, and you got to move on, even if it means, you know, leaving and living in your car or whatever it is. But the problem is there's some upside to it. So she stays in it because of why? Okay, if the guy was a total bum and had no money and also abused her, do you think she would stay around? I don't think so. I mean, there are some situations where this happens, and definitely codependency is a part of it. However, for the most part, we're getting something out of it when we're doing it. For the most part, we're getting something out of it when we're doing it, and that's a big deal. And so, how are they controlling you? Is it financially? Is it mentally? Is it emotional? You know, I even had a client recently come in my office, and he's being controlled by his older brother. And his older brother said, you need to move from where you're living. You're not working full-time anyway. You need to come out to the country and move in with our mom, who's 90 years old. You need to take care of her. You don't even have a career of your own anyway. I have a career. I can't leave my career. You need to leave the big city, move out of that place, come to the country, move in with our mom, take care of her. Oh, but FYI, she doesn't want you to live with her, but I think you should, and you need to take care of her, but she doesn't want to be taken care of, but I know you should because that's what you should do. Okay? So think about that. They want you to take care of, he wants him to take care of the mom, right? Because the mom's older. But he doesn't want to take care of mom. And so he wants the brother, who apparently doesn't have a full-time job, and so his life doesn't matter at all, to come move in with the mom. Which is fine because our parents and our elderly and the elders need to be taken care of. However, now, on the flip side, the older brother turns around and says, but she doesn't want you to take care of her, but I do. So I want you to do this, but she doesn't even need that right now, and she's going to hate it that you're living with her. So what the hell is that about? So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You better feel guilty one way or another, because I'm going to make you feel that way, because our mother's 90 years old, and she's dying. Well, she's not dying. She's fine. She even drives. But I'm going to make you feel bad. And then I'm not only going to make you feel bad, but I'm also going to make you feel as though your mother doesn't want you either. But I'm going to tell you what to do because I'm in control of you. because I make more money than you do, and I see that I feel like you are a mental slob, and so I'm going to run all over you and make you feel bad, and if you decide not to take care of mom, I'm going to call you out on it and tell you what a freaking jackass loser you are. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is being oppressed by a family member who is mentally and emotionally abusing you for their own gain. Now, why would anybody ever do that? Why would anybody ever do that? I'll tell you why. One of the reasons, and one of the biggest reasons why somebody would do that is because why? Because they want to control. And why do they want to control? Because they can't control their own life. They can't control others in their life, so they can control you, so they will beat you down and control you as long as you will let them. I mean, it's true. When I was a kid growing up, I learned this lesson because my father and I are good now. We're good now. But there was a time when my father and I weren't good. Okay? And our relationship has grown, and our relationship has really gotten a lot better, and we really, truly love each other. But there was 5 years there that we did not speak. Okay? Not at all. No joke. And it was based on the fact that he was such an ass. He only cared about himself. He only thought about you when he thought about you. And if he thought about you and he called you, you better answer that phone right now. And, it was out of sight, out of mind. But also, he was a big control freak. He couldn't control his own life, so he wanted to control everybody and anybody around him. That is just the way it works. And I happened to be the youngest person around him and his only child. So I was the one that was constantly being controlled by my dad. And I figured it out eventually. And I rebelled. And I walked away. And what I did in that walking away process is I didn't ask for any money, because money is just another way of control. I didn't ask him to help me in any way, which is another way of control. And I stopped talking to him. And then he couldn't control the dialogue anymore either. And he couldn't make me feel bad anymore, putting me down or telling me what a loser I was, or why I wasn't good enough to do something, or why I should have been doing this or that, or whatever the issue in the argument was, how I wasn't good enough at that moment. I turned the dialogue off. So think about it. I cut off the financials. I cut off, all that stuff. I cut off, I wasn't living at home or anything like that. And I cut off the dialogue. And it was a time in my life where it was challenging. A daughter's supposed to have the love of her father. That's life. I mean, that's what we all think. Our parents bring us into this world. They're going to love us. They're going to care for us. They're never going to leave us. And for some of you out there, they've left you. For some of you out there, you left them because of this exact conversation that I'm having right now. Because family and people and control do not mix. And when I realized that he was controlling me because I was the only thing he could control, I backed out. I moved out of the way. I moved out of the line of fire. And eventually we rekindle a relationship, and it's wonderful. But it's all based on respect and understanding. And neither one of us ever walk on each other. We respect one another. And it's interesting when you do break ties for a while and you step back and you pray that the other person figures it out, life becomes a lot easier because you can see what you're going to deal with, what you won't deal with, what you won't have any part of, and what you will forgive. And so if you're being oppressed right now by a family member and you figured out how they're controlling you, I ask you now, question 3, what are you doing to change it? Okay, now that you've identified it and you know how they are controlling you, what are you doing to change it? And I think that a lot of times, like I just said, you've got to cut whatever they're controlling. And I know that can be difficult because, that's life. I mean, whether it's emotional or mental or financial, you've got to cut whatever they are that's holding on to you. And you don't have to do it right this second. You don't have to pull off the Band-Aid, throw it on the ground, and run away. But you got to start preparing for that exit strategy. Okay? There's only so long you can continue to take this abuse that you're going to stay normal. Okay? I mean, many of you have gone out of the realm of normal, and there's a lot of PTSD involved, there's a lot of anxiety, there's anger, there's overeating, there's drinking binges, there's alcohol and drug abuse, all based on this oppression by this family member. I mean, think about it. Some of you, when you talk to your sister, your brother, your mother, or dad, literally right when you get off the phone, you're opening up a bottle of vodka and drinking it straight. Because every time they call you, it's like more toxicity that you got to deal with. I mean, I have some clients where literally the family member will call and unleash their fury. And I've actually heard them yelling. Like, they don't even ask them how they are. They don't even speak to them. They just scream and yell and call names for 10 to 15 minutes, and then they hang up the phone. Okay, that's not only insulting, that's insane. And, one of the first things you got to do is you just got to cut it out, and you got to be willing to take the consequences, i.e., when that call comes in and they're screaming, say politely, even if they don't hear you, hey, thank you for calling me. I'm not going to go into this conversation. This negativity and abuse has got to end. I'm going to go on and hang up the phone. I'm going to turn the phone off right now, and I wish you a good day, love you, and God bless. And you hang up that phone and you don't answer it. The next thing is that instead of putting sister or brother or mom or dad in your phone, the person that's oppressing you, change that name to their full name. Because they're no longer family. Okay? These people aren't family to you. This is not a family member. This is somebody that's actually trying to hurt you. And so you need to call them by their full name from now on. And you need to remember that because we have a tendency of forgetting that when we call it mom, dad, sister, brother, right? It needs to be whatever the name is. If it's your sister, it needs to be Karen, Martha, Walker, whatever her name is. And when she calls, you call her Karen. If you want to, call her Mrs. Walker. Seriously. I mean, establish a distance immediately. Because I want to bring up a couple of ideas or perspectives to help you overcome the situation, to begin to work, to pull yourself out from underneath their controlling thumb and help you live your life that you've always wanted to live. First thought, first new perspective, if this person was not a relative, wouldn't you have gave up on them, moved away from them a long time ago? Isn't that true? If this person wasn't a relative, they weren't a family member, wouldn't you have walked away a long time ago? Yes. If this was somebody you met, like supposed to be a friend, wouldn't you have run away? Yes. So you got to redefine this person, because a family to me doesn't have to be related. But family's family. I got family that's related, and I got family that's my friends. And my friends aren't related to me, but my definition of family are people that care about you, and you care about them. They love you, you love them, you take care of them, they take care of you. Yeah, there's ups and downs, but there's no abuse, there's no oppression, there's no hostility, there's no screaming and yelling for no reason. So you got to change that person out of the family section into the acquaintance section. That makes it a lot easier. And also begin to identify how you are treating them still like a family when they aren't, and how to regulate them down to the least amount of time that you spend, and also wean them from your emotional stature. And what I mean by that is, don't answer the phone. If they do call you, text them. Can't talk. I mean, literally, just try to cut them out as much as possible. Now, if they are calling you because they are controlling you financially, that's something that we need to work on. Because if they are controlling you financially, let me tell you, that's the only option they have. So what I'm saying to you is this. They know that you need their financial help. And they know that that's the one thing that they can hold over your head. Okay? Because right when you cut that out, they'll give you the money. Right when you say, I don't want your money anymore, or I don't want your house anymore, or I'm going to do my own thing, they'll give it to you. And it might take time. It might not be overnight. They might be like, oh, thank God, get the hell out. But over time, what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to get you back. Because if the only way they have to control you is financially, then that's one of the biggest keys right here that you need to watch, you need to be aware of, and you need to understand that until you get out of their home that they're paying for, or until you get out of the car that they're making the monthly fees and payments for, whatever it is, they have something over your head, and they know it. And so unfortunately, you do have to answer that phone. You do have to be there to some degree, because why? Because you owe it to them. So I give you the consideration at this point, and this is the second new perspective, is to begin to figure out a way that you can begin to provide for yourself, even if it's small, even if it's just a little bit to begin with, and then work up so that they don't have anything over you. So recently I had a client that the home and the car were being paid for by a sibling. Okay? And, things happen. People lose jobs. They lose their career. Things happen. They go through divorce. All that stuff. But eventually you got to get back on top to some degree. And so we've been working together, and one of the considerations that I said is, you might not be able to get out of the house, but let's make some incremental changes and do some stuff specifically to get you your own car. And that was what we started with. So we were able to find, in the addition of their current job, we were able to find something that they could do on the weekends to provide enough money to add to it, to make a car payment, to find the car that they could afford, and they were able to give the car back to their sibling. Okay, so that's one thing down, right? Now, the house is going to take some time, but now there's only one thing over their head. Do you see what I'm saying? And in that situation, you can see the forest through the trees, but we got to make small incremental changes. Sometimes the pain of the oppression is so bad that you've got to get out. And you've got to begin to think of solutions way outside the box. I had one client that I was working with that their sibling owned the home that they lived in and would come over unexpected, like every other day or night randomly, to check on them, to snoop on them, to go through all their stuff, to make comments about how they're still at home and it's 10 a.m. in the morning, they should be at work, and all that good stuff. And it was interesting because I began to talk with them, and I said, hey, have you thought about finding a career that you can actually live on property? Or you can move out from there, or you live with a family and work with a family, or you actually are on the road, or they put you in corporate housing, or whatever. There's a lot of different variations of things that you can find that offer a housing benefit as well. And we were able to find that for this particular client, and it has changed their world. The day that they were able to move their stuff out and hand the keys back to the sibling was an amazing day, because that was it for the control. There was no more control, because that person, my client, no longer had to answer the phone anymore in anticipation of anger or whatever issue was on the other side, because they were no longer living in their home. They didn't owe them anything anymore. And it changed the whole relationship dynamic. And, over time, they will mend their relationship if they wish to, but they don't owe them anything. And it's a really awesome, refreshing feeling to know that, you know what, if I want to answer the phone, I can. If I want to answer the door, I can. But this is my home, and this is my place, and I don't have to do any of that. And all of a sudden, the power that was given to the oppressive family member has been taken away. And they no longer hold that power over you anymore. They don't have any power over you anymore. And all of a sudden, the dynamic completely changes. Another perspective. Remember, when you take away the power, you stop them completely. When you take away their power, you stop them completely. And that is phenomenal, because once you do that, they got nothing on you. And there might have been some things that I didn't talk about in this podcast that might be inherently unique to your situation. However, if you think about the stuff that I've talked about and you can implement that to your unique situation, there's parts of this that definitely adapt to what you're going through to some degree. And remember, when you're dealing with borderline abuse, you've got to stop the cycle. You've got to end this whole interaction. And you've got to transport the relationship from this oppressive, angry dynamic to two equals on the same level. And what I mean is, the person that's oppressing you does not see you as an equal. Instead, they see you as a subordinate. Okay? And if they are taking care of you in any way, shape, or form, you are a subordinate. You are being taken care of. They owe you nothing. And if that's the case, then they can call you at any time. And to some degree, if you're taking something from them or you're getting something from them, you feel indebted to take that call, right? So we've got to cut the ties, understand who's oppressing us, how they're controlling us, and really recognize what we can do to change it. Because only we can change it. They're not going to change it because they're getting something out of it. They got a power play over it. They're using us, and they're feeling powerful over us. Maybe they can't control anything in their life. Maybe their husband's cheating on them. Maybe their career is going into the tank. You don't know what's going on. And you happen to be, the person they see they can control. And they've done it so often for so long that that's the way it goes. They've done it so long that that's the way that they deal with it. And you happen to be the person they can control. And I know for a fact, when I went through the process with my dad, at first it was hard, but then I realized I had to do it. I had to cut ties for a while. And not in a mean way, not in a, go screw off way, but it was more like, it was kind of sad. And I really thought about things, and it was pretty deep thinking, and it was pretty sad, and it was pretty overwhelming, and that's okay. And I've been there, I've done that. But I quietly did this, but I really thought about things, and I tried to picture how would I want this relationship to be, and how can it be a healthy relationship, and how does it reinvent itself into a healthy dynamic. And I realized that in order for it to be healthy, it had to be equal. And I love my dad, and he is my dad, but I don't really think of him as my dad. I think about him as a friend. And yes, he brought me in this world, sure. But I think sometimes we define family with such intensity that when they hurt us, they hurt us so bad because we didn't expect family to do this to us. Instead, we thought family was always going to be there for us. And family wasn't. And so if you begin to think about the situation and you realize how they're oppressing you, and you take a step further and you realize what you need to do to make the change, you will better yourself in every situation. You'll also begin to understand the human dynamic on every level. When somebody has something over you, very rarely do they not say anything. Only a few people will be considerate enough and caring enough and aware and mindful enough not to use that. Very rarely will you find those people. And, quite often enough, people want to be in control. And when they feel out of control, when they feel overwhelmed, when they feel as though things aren't going their way, or when they feel like their life is out of control, they will want to what? They will want to control you. And you happen to be the nearest person they can get to. They'll control you. They'll take over your life. And the next thing you know, you're being oppressed. So if this is happening to you in any way, examine this. Refocus your perspective and figure out how can you get out from underneath their thumb. What are some of the things you can begin to do incrementally today to make those changes? How do you do it? What do you do? And put together a plan. It doesn't have to be changed overnight. But if you could put together a plan for the next 6 months to a year on how to do it, I'm telling you, once you do it, you will feel like a free woman or free man that just got out of prison after 20 years. And I'm telling you another secret. They'll come back. And when they don't have anything to hold over your head, they'll get normal. And then you can choose whether or not you want them in your life or not, because you've seen them use their power abusively. And you know that they can do it again because it obviously comes second nature to them. So you've got to define how much you'll spend time with them and to what capacity, and really how close you get to them. And another thought that you want to ask yourself, and this is something that I find quite interesting, and this is a really, really deep thought. In my life, when I've tried to get something, and I think this might apply to a lot of people listening right now. In my life, when I've tried to get something that wasn't right for me, whether it was a person in a relationship, whether it was a pharmaceutical medication, whatever it was, if it wasn't right for me, it didn't come to fruition right. You know what I'm saying? It didn't come to fruition. So if I wanted something and it was too hard to get to, I couldn't get to, it didn't happen. No matter how much I tried, it didn't happen. It was like the universe was pushing me away from that, right? So a way that you can see this oppressive relative of yours is that they could be carrying out a universal mission and definitely not even realizing it. But your freedom depends on getting away from their oppressive rule. And you could actually see them as an angel in disguise, because once you get away from this oppression, your life is going to change. See them as making your life a living hell is pushing you and putting that fire under your butt to get out of there. And I'm telling you, they're not aware enough to know that. But to some degree, in this universe, they were put there to make you move, to get you going. Because there's greatness for you. There's something more that you need to attain, that you need to do, that cannot be done under their rule. And so the reason why it's so painstaking is that you're not supposed to be there. 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 Would you like me to tell you again? You're not supposed to be there. You know, when you're fighting for something and every single day is an uphill battle and every single day you're dealing with this amazing adversity to something that's quite simple, you're not supposed to be there. You're supposed to move on. Bigger, better things. Other stuff going on. You got to move on. So they're the catalyst to make you move on. But if you keep staying in that hell, you will stay in it forever. to some degree, if you look at it that way, yes, they can be evil and their attitude is awful and they have no idea that they're trying to help you. But if you actually go away from them and remove their power, you'll be on your road to your purpose and your pathway and away from the oppression, okay? And later on, they'll come back around, but that might be the duty. And that might be something they have to carry out in their lifetime that they're not even aware of. That if they make your life a living hell bad enough, you'll get out of the house and you'll move and you'll do your own thing and you'll start your own career and you'll change your life and you'll do something and you'll move on. Because your life is not supposed to be a living hell. But I believe that certain things happen in our life to make us move, to make us change, to make us get out of situations that don't work and to move on. And that to me is quintessential information that can change your life for the better. And if you use this tidbit of information right now on every single aspect of your life, you will realize that a lot of people don't even realize the part that they're playing. But if you follow the lead and you get out of it because it is hell and it sucks, then you will be in a better position because you're heeding the word. Okay? If you're living with somebody right now and it's the worst situation, you've got to figure out how to get out. Okay? There's a reason for it. Because when you're doing the right thing and you're living the right life, it's not as hard. It just isn't. Things seem to come together and things seem to work out. And when we're living the right life and we're doing what we need to do and we've heeded all of these messages, all of a sudden you kind of go, wow, life's really not that bad. Sure, there's ups and downs, and sure, there's health scares and issues and all kinds of things in between. But in the middle of it, in the crux of it, you actually can take a breather and say, wow, this is actually pretty nice. I need to really enjoy this for a little while. And when you're being oppressed by a family member and allowing them to have that power over you, there's none of that enjoyment. And so I want to see you to have a healthy, happy enjoyment of your life, to heed these messages, and to realize that as long as you start something and you create a plan to get out from underneath their thumb, you will win, it will work, and you will overcome. Check out my website if you haven't already. It's ashleyburgess.com, Ashley, BERGES.com. As well as check out the YouTube channel. My YouTube channel, just put Ashley Burgess, BERGES. And there's several new videos. One video each week goes up. One new video each week goes up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. And tell your friends about it. And comment on some of the videos and tell me what you think about them. I want to hear your perspective. I want to hear your thoughts. And I want to hear from you. You can always reach out and contact me if you'd like to work with me and make me your therapist or your life coach or your mentor. Go to ashleyburgess.com, click on the contact page, and send me a message. I will respond ASAP. In the meantime, do what's right by you. Be authentic. Be true to you. See yourself. Authentically understand your perspective and the other perspectives of those around you. And don't forget to work every day to live your true life.